Okay. And hi, welcome back to the Women on Amazon podcast. And I'm joined today with somebody that I've never met before, which is lovely. I love that because I'm going to learn so much and hopefully you will too. The delightful Roberta Pemberton is with me today to talk about her e-com and Amazon journey. Welcome, Roberta.
Well, thank you, Regina. I really appreciate you having me on your show. And I hope that I can add value to your audience and maybe they can learn a little bit from my journey. So I really appreciate you having me on your show.
Oh, thank you for being here. So, Roberta, let's just double back a little bit. Tell me, where are you based? What's your background and how did you first get into e-com?
Yeah, so I live in the United States. I live in the state of Tennessee, specifically the United States. So I'm originally born and raised in the state of Hawaii. And I'm an Air Force veteran. That's how I ended up in the States. And I married my best friend. I'm in the Air Force. I met my best friend and married him. And he's from Tennessee. So we moved to Tennessee and we've been married 34 years.
Wow. That's a feat in and of itself these days, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's wonderful. We have one son we have a grandson, and they live in Texas. So, which brings me to my Amazon journey.
Yes.
We are as a full-time employee of the federal government at the time in 2017, and my son got a promotion with a big corporation in the States, and they moved to Texas. And just at that time, I thought, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always knew that even though I was in the go get an education, get a job, the corporate structure, I always knew that I wanted to do my own thing on the side. And so that's when I first encountered and heard about Amazon. And I took started my Amazon journey.
Okay, so because it's you were saying, you're very much of that sort of mindset, which these days is becoming quite old-fashioned, but is still very much the way it is, where it's go to school, get a job, and of course, in the military also quite. I mean, I've never been in the military, so I don't know, but I'm guessing quite heavily into sort of do as you're told sort of thing, which is quite and the antithesis of being an entrepreneur. Really. So how did you overcome the mindset and the conditioning of all of those years of schooling and the military? I mean, for me, that's actually a really fascinating subject.
Yeah. So literally, I always felt that in corporate jobs, it doesn't matter if it's government, corporation, just like what my son worked in a corporate job, a non-government job, there's a ceiling.
Yes.
There's a ceiling. So you apply for a position and I noticed that it doesn't matter how much I've worked in that position, that all of us in that same category of position made the same amount of money.
Right.
Fairly much, maybe a little bit of bonus here and there, but there was a ceiling. And I've started, reading the books. I started with How to Win Friends and
Influence People, Napoleon Hill.
Yes, I started with a Napoleon Hill book. Yep. And it started giving me the idea that what if I got paid according to my value, my worth, my value to the market.
Right.
And I started that journey a while before that. And so and I read the books and then I love marketing. I read the books. And I always thought, I really want to try this entrepreneur thing where there's no ceiling. Like I literally get to put myself out there and there's no ceiling. I really wanted to know what can I achieve when there's no safety net and there's no ceiling.
Wow.
So what with the entrepreneur journey, as you know yourself, there is no ceiling, but there's also no safety net.
That's right. There's also no bottom. That's right.
So,
both.
But I was intrigued with that. And in 2017, when I always heard about Amazon, I always been intrigued with Amazon. And since I only had one child and they were moving to Texas 2017, I says, to fill up my void in my heart, because my family left. And even though I have a wonderful husband, and there was a void. And so I said, hey, I'm going to go start my side hustle. I'm going to start this Amazon thing and start that journey of seeing how much value I put in the market and how much really
So,
the
so was it actually a side hustle, or did you start straight away? Was it full time?
It was a side business because I was still working full time.
Okay, great. And so, did you come across a training, or did you just make a
Yeah.
decision, or you knew somebody you knew? Like, how did you sort of get into it?
Yeah, so I was following someone on YouTube in
Right.
e-commerce.
Okay.
I was
Mhm.
following a lot of people in e-commerce. This one lady in particular,
Mhm.
and she was talking about, and I was following her journey, and she was in the private label space on Amazon, and
Right.
she spoke a lot about it. And then she did a marketing with another company for a course
Right.
to learn how to do private label,
Mhm.
and what really had me why I really bought it was there was 2 live events in Las Vegas you got if you bought this course.
Right.
And we did a 2-day live event, and then we went to a bigger live event with
Right.
a bigger organization. And so that's the reason why I did it, because I had more personal training
Right. Mm-hmm.
in addition to the course. And that's what that's what got incentivized me to do it, even though I consider myself super untechy. And I
Mm-hmm.
was really like, this is a little bit of money, and can I do it at my, all the
Of course,
voice.
all of that talk that goes into our heads. Okay, so tell me about your journey. So 2017, what happened?
Yeah, so in 2017, I went to that live event.
Mm-hmm.
I met a lot of people, and it was a private label
Mm-hmm.
where I literally I learned inside the course on how to source a product, have it
Mm-hmm.
manufactured, how to pick my product. So
Yeah.
in Amazon, you pick your product, you know how to do product
Yeah.
research, and then we literally learned how to contact the manufacturer, get it manufactured,
Yeah.
did packaging, a
All
logo.
the real basics that we need to do in private label. So I'm guessing this sort of was like all totally new for you, right?
Oh yes. So
So
it was
what a journey.
I was working my 9 to 5 and staying up to 1 and 2 in the morning,
Mm.
doing my private label, my course, and taking action at the same
Action.
time.
Okay, so how long before you launched your first product? Or did
So
you
that
launch your
was
first
May.
product? Because some people never do, right?
Yeah. So in and the from the time I did the training and actually and had the product in Amazon. It was the first products hit Amazon, I would say late September of 2017.
Right. So how long was that from when you started your training?
I started the training in May.
May. Okay, so that's really good. That's, again, a lot of people never got to get a product up, and you got one up within the first 6 months. So my hats off to you, a real action taker. Great job. So tell me what happened with that product.
So I've always had because my grandson was really little, I went into, I manufactured a STEM toy, you know,
Okay,
uh,
it's a STEM's
science,
okay. Yep. Mm-hmm. A
science,
toy,
technology,
right?
engineering, mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
And it was for his age, for a toddler.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a STEM toy, and it was Christmas in the
Right. Oh
US.
wow. So did you sell out?
I happened to pick the right category.
Category and timing, right?
Yeah, category, timing. And then I got, yeah, and then it was Q4
Yeah, of
also.
course. Yeah, that's it.
So yeah, in private label, the thing that's a little bit, the hardest part of the private label wasn't manufacturing and picking the product and getting it going through customs. I had to hang up in customs. I had to deal with that
Mm-hmm.
all while I worked a full-time job.
Yeah.
The hardest part was literally trying to get the product ranked in the algorithm.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And so what do you remember? I mean, of course, since September 2017 to now, where are we? Almost 3 years later, we're in August 2020. Things have changed a lot in rankings. So what did you do then, if
Yeah,
anything?
so with that product, it literally I learned how to do PPC
Mm-hmm.
and the Amazon algorithm, and listing optimization and all. And it sold a little bit in October. What I didn't it sold a little bit in October, and right before Black Friday in the US, we call it
Yep.
Black Friday. I
Yep.
don't know if
Oh
Just
yeah,
that
everybody
way.
knows Black Friday. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you sell on Amazon, you know Black Friday.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, we are talking, speaking about to Amazon experts here.
Well,
So the week of Black Friday, I noticed my sales ticked up, and I
mhm,
said, "Why am I selling so many?" And I was happy, but then I realized everyone else in the same category, their
mhm.
prices were higher.
Ah, okay. Mhm,
And I said, "Wait a minute! Just a week ago, we were competing on price, and
mhm.
all of a sudden, I'm the lowest." Then so I started raising my prices right before Black Friday, and it kept selling, and I kept
Right.
raising my prices.
Beautiful.
After Black Friday, the weekend of Black Friday, it was selling so quick. I just kept raising my prices, and it
Mhm.
just sold out within a week.
Okay. So you sold out within a week. Did you restock? What did like?
It wasn't enough time for that
Right, of
period.
course, because if you're selling out in Black Friday, yeah, okay. So what did you do with that product? Did you continue it on, or did you bring it back next year? What did you do?
I actually still own the brand and still have big visions for the brand, and
Hmm.
and bringing it back.
Hmm.
But because if you do private label, you understand it's a little bit of an investment,
Sure.
and luckily I was successful, and I literally sat there thinking, was it timing or was it the product?
Well, it was
Was
probably
it?
a combination of all of those things, right? You know,
Yeah, and so I so
you've got to
I
be in the right place,
actually.
at the right time, but you also have to have the right product, right?
But that is true. That is true.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure if in early January of 2018 it was. So
Hmm.
I started going into household goods
Okay.
that sells, more year round. I was looking
Mhm.
for more of everyone says like, a product that replenishables.
Yep.
So I was looking in the grocery household, and then when I went into researching to manufacture the one product for household, I realized I came across other people talking about this model of selling what's already selling,
Right.
the wholesale model,
Hmm.
that us buying from wholesalers and reselling what's already selling.
Hmm.
And that's when I pivoted at that moment in time and started to learn how to do wholesaling.
Okay, so obviously, so you had a little bit of money up your sleeve because you'd sold out of your private label product.
Yeah.
So you had so you could then invest. So tell me about how wholesale. I've personally never done wholesale. I have spoken to a few people who have and have done well with it. So
Mhm.
tell me how that worked for you. Like, where did you start? Who did you contact? How did you contact? And if there's a lot of people doing it, was there a lot of competition? Like, what did you do?
Yes, there are a lot of competitions. And again, I did what I did earlier with the private label. I invested in myself, and
Mm-hmm.
I went to a conference.
Right. So you did some
And at the
training and to learn how to do
conference,
it.
it
Hmm.
was right before in Las Vegas. There's a conference called the ASD show,
Oh, yes.
where
Yep. Hmm.
yeah, where they have all these vendors come to the
Yep.
Las Vegas Convention Center. So I went to a conference and before the ASD show, and spoke to and mastermind with other sellers that
Hmm.
were in the wholesale space. And then we all went. We actually went. 4 or 5 of us. We had little groups, and we went and spoke to all these different vendors.
Right. So the vendors at ASD, again, I've never been to ASD. The vendors at ASD, they're all wholesalers. They're all manufacturers that
Um,
are looking, or how does that
there's a
work?
lot of wholesalers. There's a lot of private label people. A lot of white label people.
Right. Okay. And so did you
Like.
find products to sell? Like, did you talk to vendors?
Yeah, so again, even though it wasn't private label,
Hmm.
because I like toys,
Hmm.
I have a lot of, I found a lot of good wholesale vendors that I could sell big name brand toys on my
Right.
Amazon.
And so was there a process? Like, if you're dealing with a big name,
Hmm.
is there a process that you have to go through in order to become a reseller with them, or do they just give it to everybody? Like, how does that work?
Yes, you have to apply.
Hmm.
They have to accept you, and you actually have a representative that works with you,
Right.
and
So
then they
tell me
send
about
you.
that process about applying and like if I
Uh,
want
you
if I want to do that today and say I wanted to reach out to, let's say, Mattel, for example. I'm not saying that that's who you went with. I don't know who you went with, but let's say. So what's the process?
So with Mattel, what Mattel would do, and that's what it's wholesaling, is what Mattel will do is give you a list of their wholesale distributors. They're authorized.
Right, so you don't even deal directly with the company.
No, not someone that big.
No, okay.
Smaller brands, yes.
Okay.
But someone that big, they have authorized distributors. They have authorized resellers.
Right.
And that's who I worked with.
Okay.
They're authorized wholesalers.
Right. So then that process, so you then obviously go through the process and you're given the rights. So do you have to invest a certain amount with each of these brands or for each product? Like, do they have a minimum that you would need to invest in?
So what happens is my representative from these different companies send me I like to have it in a CSV list of products available to purchase. And they will have it because I run it through a software. There's a software that in the software, you decide how much your profit margin, what type of items you're really, the type of brand and the age category. And it literally will give me, say, my top 10.
Right.
And of that top 10, when you go through that list of what my representative sends me, the representative says how much is per item. So say this item is going to cost $5 if you buy a 500 quantity, the minimum order quantity, and if you buy 1,000, it might go to $450 an item.
Right, so it might be different. Okay. Yeah. So what's the software you use?
It's it was oh, you
don't use it anymore?
I haven't used it in a while.
Okay.
I haven't used it. It's actually I've used several.
Okay.
So let me not say the software.
Okay, fair enough. So let's not talk about the software, but what is the criteria then that you look for? You say like the resellers or representatives send you a list of products that are available and you narrow it down. So what is the criteria that's used to narrow it down?
So for example, at that time, because I couldn't afford the higher MOQs or minimum order quantities, my return on investment, I was looking between 15 and 25%. So that was my first. Then it was a sales volume. You know, like how if you do, a lot of people do Jungle Scout because it's free, that one-time payment extension, you can see the sale volume and then how many sellers, and then how often I would rotate into the buy boxes, how I would decide how much quantity I would want to buy, and then at what price. If it's 500 quantity, what's the price range for 500 quantity, and then and then my ROI on that.
Right. Okay. So that was my next question. So when you're doing this type of business model, you're obviously competing for the buy box.
Yes.
Which is something that we as private label sellers in theory shouldn't have to worry about. Sometimes we do for various reasons, but in general, we don't worry about the buy box. So explain to me how the buy box works when you're wholesaling products.
So the buy box works pretty much the same as private label if you're in the category, right? Meaning reviews, seller ratings, age of your account, and then how many people, and then the price.
Right.
The price, for Amazon, everything's about the price. So if you're in within 5% of the lowest price, and you can almost tell if it's 5 or 3%, and there's softwares, which I won't name softwares here, that keeps up with prices.
Right.
And it'll alert you.
So I guess the danger there, and have you come across this? I'm just thinking off the top of my head is if there's a lot of people competing for the buy box and price is the biggest trigger, do you then erode your margin?
Yes, it can. So this is the other thing when you're doing big name brands and that's why I pivoted again inside of that.
That was going to be my next question, because how do you mitigate that?
I pivoted again because there is a thing you want to, when you go say with Mattel and say they're selling this toy car, this popular toy car. and they say they made 1 million units of it.
Yep.
And the way it works for most Amazon sellers is who gets what we finally get is the leftovers of what Walmart, after Walmart's bought, Sam's, Target, after all these big box stores and all the big online stores take their part of that million. Whatever's left is what's a lot of the online sales. Yep. That's what they sell to the Amazon sellers.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
And so if there's a lot of quantity, if there's a way to figure out, and that's what it was the hardest part about this, is when you sell big name brands, is knowing what the quantity is out there. If you could know what the quantity was out there, then you could know how many people could potentially jump on the buy box and how it would erode price.
Right.
So that is a consideration. And so even in that space, there's certain types of toys that sell over and over again, say certain times a year. So I literally would buy one that's already from last year's stock, because people would like that style versus the new style. And then there's so much limited quantity. Right. It's either going to sell, but at least you control the price better. Right.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you said that you've pivoted again. Tell me how you've pivoted now. Like what have you been doing now, and what have you been doing since sort of the COVID shutdowns? What's been happening to your business?
Yes, so we pivoted again.
But that's the life of an entrepreneur, right? You know, that I think that's the if 2020 had a name, I think pivot would pretty much be it, right?
Yeah, who can right? I mean, who can change directions the quickest?
Yeah. So tell me about your most recent pivot.
So it mainly was toys in 2019 and electronics. We went heavy into toys and electronics, and as we seen, what happened was we seen that, you know, Amazon sellers, they know that there's categories, right? Health and wealth, home, and all that.
I'm just going to interrupt you there while I think of a question. So you spent 2019. How many products would you have, like at this wholesale level? Let's say in 2019, how many different SKUs would you have at any given time?
At any given time, like for example, right now we might have 20 something going on at any given time, because we want to everything's about sell-through.
Yeah.
We want to sell through in 6 weeks.
So obviously there'll be some that are, you know, active for a short time, some for a long time, some that you replenish.
The longest we want to do it is, as best you can forecast, right, is 6 weeks.
Right. Okay. So you try to sell out in 6 weeks to then replenish.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And so can I ask what sort of turnover you were able to accomplish last year?
We did about 1.2.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, in wholesaling.
In wholesaling, with a small SKU portfolio. That's amazing.
Yeah, and we went in like we did really well with some electronics, especially. We found a vendor in one of the states that what he got in was like that was all that was in the market.
Right. Okay.
And it was a good selling, like we knew the color, a specific model, and we got hold of a lot of that. So if we bought 1,000 of them, so we worked out with him where we'd buy 1,000 at a time. So it's just one SKU, but we knew it would sell out in 6 weeks. And so that's how we positioned a lot of 2019.
Okay. And then come 2020, what happened? Well, we'll go back to your story.
So 2020, when COVID hit, they shut down majority of the categories, which was for us, electronics, toys. And we pivoted with the wholesale model into health and beauty.
Health and beauty, of course, because that's been
all health and beauty since then.
So
and now we're bringing the toys back.
How difficult was it at that stage then to find products and find manufacturers that would sell to you?
At first, it was difficult because it wasn't on our radar. It wasn't something because we got really good at understanding certain niche electronics, and we got good at toys, certain niche toys. And we really was it in March or April. We started pivoting hard and 24/7 learning, calling, digging on the internet to go find this wholesaler, to ask for this wholesale, you know, and just keep digging and doing the research of what items sell in the health and beauty. And then that was March. So, you know, everybody's sales went down unless you were already in that niche.
Yes. Yeah.
And then April we did better. And then May is when we got up to over 60,000.
Nice, nice. Okay, and that's pretty much where you're sitting at the moment. You're moving at those levels, or is it going up, down? What are your projections?
It went down a little in July because I guess, but makeups and beauty, and because at first if you had a lot of the we had some brands with the supplements.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So early in COVID, we had a lot of supplements. We had a supplement company we were with, and they were really churning. And then we had some makeup brands we were working with that was really turning. And so the makeup dropped off, and the supplements kind of dropped off during the summer. But then we pivoted again into different, you know, like body lotions and, you know, different health and we stayed away from and I had opportunity to do the mask, and I had plenty of vendors asking opportunity to do the sanitizers, and I stayed away from it like the plague.
A lot of people got into trouble. You had to be a little bit careful with that, right?
Yeah, so we did stay away from that. We never sold one of anything in that category. We mainly stayed in supplements, beauty, you know, that type of it.
Okay, so here's a question. What is it that you think that you do, if anything, when you approach vendors, wholesalers, that makes them give you the products, or are they just open to everybody? Like, how does that work? Are you, you know, at the moment, you said you did $60,000 in sales the other month. How many competitors were there on these buy boxes, or were you the only one? Like, what?
We try to and we're going into like smaller brands, brands that if I told you the name, most people wouldn't
know them. Right. Okay.
Yes. So when you go into the smaller brands, there's never hardly ever over four rotations.
Right.
We've got in with a brand where it was at one point they let us on, and it was the brand and us.
Right. Okay.
And they said, you know what, we can't do that. You have to go get your own store, but we're going to take over Amazon, because our store, because we did more volume, because we did other items. Yep. We got the buy box more than they did.
Didn't they? Oh, do they? So they didn't kick you off. I would have thought they'd give you more business, right?
Yeah. So they said they would sell to us even at a better price per wholesale price if we would to build our own website, our own store.
Off Amazon.
Yeah, and literally that's also what we are building right now.
Right. Okay. So you're sort of expanding on that. Nice. And so what? So obviously with the wholesale, what is your plans moving forward?
So my plan was in 2017. I paid extra when I was in 2017 going to my first mastermind in the Amazon space.
Yep.
I paid extra to go to a luncheon with all the 7-figure and up income earners.
Yep.
And I went in the room and I sat at this table with a few people, and there was 2 luncheons, and everybody talked about, you know, they're making 7 figures, whatever. And it was about selling the store. And I was like, and they were talking about what they call their exit strategy.
Yep.
And it literally intrigued me. I said, what? An exit strategy? I thought I was just like going to get an income stream, right?
Make money, yeah.
And then they're saying, oh no, you can have an income stream and an exit strategy. And that's when I went, oh my gosh.
Okay.
This is what I'm doing.
Right.
So, I've literally everything I'm doing is trying to cash flow for my exit strategy, for to come back and build my private label brand, in whatever category so that I can, my exit strategy, and do an 8-figure exit strategy.
Wow. Okay. Because you're already a 7-figure seller, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get this. This is really actually quite awesome. So you're using the wholesale business for the
Yeah.
cash flow, and because
Yeah.
the wholesale is not as intensive as private label, so using the cash flow from the wholesale business to go back in to fund a private label brand that you will
Yes.
then build for an 8-figure exit. This is absolutely genius.
Yeah, and that's why we're doing an off the private, now we're going into the private label. We're
Mm-hmm.
literally building the non-Amazon assets as I
As
speak.
well at the same time.
Yes, currently we're building that non-Amazon assets, and
Mm-hmm.
the whole idea is to have the Amazon store
Mm-hmm.
for that brand, for our private label brand, and we're going to brand it to that label,
Yes.
and we're going to build its assets off of Amazon
Mm-hmm.
so we can get the valuation when you get sales here and sales
There, of
here,
course. Yeah,
and we have a customer list that actually buys through a customer
absolutely.
email audience,
Yeah,
and you put them
all of
together.
the brand assets that.
Yeah, all the brand assets together, that's the exit strategy. What I call it my e-commerce domination machine.
Yeah, that is absolutely amazing. So tell me, so the lessons that you learned originally back in 2017 in private label, in terms of ranking and stuff, do you use any of that in your wholesale business, or is in the
A
wholesale, do you
little bit.
rely the listings of the manufacturer?
Yeah, a little bit. If we're wanting to move, we want to get out of a product, we've held it too long, we might do a little bit of PPC. We might even and that's also how we've gotten the relationship with smaller brands.
Mm-hmm.
Is when we would contact the brand themselves after the wholesaler, say we contacted their distributor or their wholesaler, then we would contact the brand and say, hey, we love your brand, we love your items, but here's a few suggestions on your listing how you can, if you did these changes,
Mm-hmm.
that your brand, your items could sell instead of this many units a month, you could increase by 10, 15, 20% just by better pictures,
Mm-hmm.
better description, and little things like that. And that's how we became one of 4 or less on these
Right.
smaller brands, because a lot of them don't know this.
Of course not,
So
because
we really go
they're
to the
busy
brand.
manufacturing and selling to Walmart. They don't care about their Amazon listings, right?
Yeah, so we actually added value. So we found a way that if we talked to these small brands and had them do it, we didn't have to pay for anything, and we got the value of the better listing.
Okay, excellent. So there you go. So again, one of the things that everybody talks about: lead with value first, and
Yes.
then profit from it later. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, and including one brand, we got to talk to their Amazon expert who does the listing, and for example, one brand was not brand registered, and we literally told him how to get brand registered and walked him through the process,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when he gave us better wholesale prices.
Beautiful. That's really, as I said, I think your strategy is absolutely genius. So I'll just reiterate it again because it's absolutely blown my mind. So you're using get into wholesale for a lower initial spend, build that up for the cash flow, take that cash flow to invest in a private label brand,
Yes.
and invest that in private label assets on and off Amazon for an exit. So how long do you think that's going to take you? Because you're sort of at the beginning of that second phase of the private label.
Yes.
What's your timing on that?
I say 3 years or less.
Mm-hmm.
So 2023 is my target.
Okay, which is still 6 years from coming in to an 8-figure exit. I mean, what other business can you get into where
Yeah,
you can come in with pretty much very little and walk
very little.
away for with 8 figures to retire or travel the world or do whatever it is that you choose to do. So at which stage did you quit your job, if you quit your job?
So luckily, I started in 2017. In 2019, I was eligible to retire, even though I was not ready to.
Right.
So I was eligible to retire, but I was not in planning on. But the business got so crazy busy that I couldn't do both.
Right.
I literally could not do both. Because we're literally still a small family-run business, and so luckily I was able to retire, and I made a last minute decision to just retire. So I've been retired since last year. So that's why now I can bring more of the vision in, because I have the time to implement more strategies, to implement the holistic vision of what I want to build.
Okay. So looking back over the last 3 years or so, what do you think are the biggest lessons you've learned on your journey so far? If you can narrow it down to 2 or 3, that would be great.
Well, the biggest lesson, I can narrow it to one.
Right.
Your business as an entrepreneur, or the entrepreneur journey, is the best personal development journey I've ever been on. And your business can only grow as big as you grow.
Wow. Okay.
That's it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And if you had to give a piece of advice to somebody who perhaps is looking at Amazon as a business model and wants to get in now, do you think it's too late?
Okay, let me not scream with joy. I'm trying to not oversell this. I'm not even selling anything. I have nothing to sell people.
Okay.
Amazon e-commerce is now beginning. It's still in the beginning. And I mean e-commerce. I'm not even saying only Amazon. Amazon, we're still in like the tip of the iceberg. And if you do the whole e-commerce, anything e-commerce online, there's so much opportunity. Okay. So much opportunity.
So your answer is no, it's not too late. So if you had to get,
absolutely not. This is like what do they say? This is the ground floor opportunity.
Still ground floor. And so if you had to give one piece of advice to somebody starting out, what would it be?
If you're just starting out, just start. Invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. Take the journey. Take your steps. And if you're like me and you're super untechy, if I can do it, so can you.
And what an amazing way to finish up. Thank you so much, Roberta. It's been really a joy speaking with you today. So
thank you, Regina.
Very best of luck. And I look forward to hearing about your exit in a couple of years' time. When you've sold, come back and tell us all about it, huh?
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye, everybody. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks, Roberta. Take care.
Bye-bye.